was unbelievable what he did. And the last punt that we dropped was a 68-yard punt when the game was on the line, and we had a chance to return it and get something out of it. Field goals, we made 5, 21 yards, 26 yards, 31 yards, 40 yards, and 49 yards. We missed a 48-yarder. Like we said, we went for the 4th and 2 from about that same distance and did not convert. And we're going to have to look at just trying to go for 4th downs. And if we feel like we're in a game where they're going to score, then we've got to just try not to kick long field goals. And especially you're kicking field goals from 21, 26, and 31, and it looked like we were holding them in check. It looked like we had a chance to win the game in a low-scoring game. And then they made their big plays in the second half. Great job on kickoff return on the first one by Eddie Jones. He ran it back to the 50. After that, we were poor. We did a very poor job with kickoff returns. We got to continue to look at something there, and we're going to put Christian Scott back there this week and look at him on kickoff returns and get a bigger body and see if we can get some yards up inside, because we have not done well in that area all year. Punt, block, and return has been the best in the country for us for years, and it's been a real struggle, to say the least. It's interesting that Curtis Brown is averaging 14.92 yards per punt. He's 13th in the country in punt returns. And the 3 obvious drops, 2 of them didn't really affect us other than our hearts and our emotions Saturday night, because they didn't change the game, but the one against UCLA did. So he's really, really struggled in that position, and we'll keep working with him, but we'll also have Mike Davis, Christian Scott, and Adrian Phillips back there as they look at getting punt returns this week. Lots of guys graded winning performances on special teams. The guys are really trying. That's why with that much effort, we should be getting more out of our, especially out of our kickoff return. Curtis Brown played really, really well during the game. He graded a winning performance. It was obvious that he dropped the 2 punts. Other than that, he had a perfect night. And he really didn't affect the outcome of the game in a negative way, even though at the times we were waiting on those reviews, it could have. And it's something that we can't do. After the last one, it was obvious to everybody. He got frustrated, took off his helmet and kicked it. It's a 15-yard penalty, and obviously a loss of composure. And I asked Curtis permission for this. He's got a 1-year-old baby. I got a call from Curtis on Tuesday night that his baby might die. It had really bad respiratory problems. The baby's in Houston. He was driving on Tuesday night to go see the baby, and he was listed on a group randomly for an NCAA drug test on Wednesday morning. They do that about twice a year for schools like Texas. If you miss the NCAA drug test, it counts as a positive. And if you have a positive, you don't get to play for a year. He's a senior. He'd lose the rest of his eligibility. So he stayed here. He decided not to go see his baby, who they thought might die, because he wanted to go by the rules and do what was right, which I think we've got to look at that in the future and see. You should have a way to have an emergency situation come up where a young person can leave and not take that drug test if he has a legitimate issue. So he got up. He took the drug test the next morning at 6 in the morning. He drove to Houston. He spent Wednesday afternoon and Thursday in Houston. He came back for the game. The baby's doing better, and we hope you'll keep the baby in your thoughts and prayers along with Curtis. So there was some frustration on his part about the game. He's afraid he lost the game. And at the same time, for a young guy that's 21 years old, he's got a big burden on his shoulders this week anyway. So a lot of times things aren't what we think they are. And then people wonder why Dwayne, Akina, and I were trying to help him on the sideline. We knew what he'd been through. And we knew that it takes big shoulders to handle all that. Still shouldn't have taken his helmet off. Still shouldn't have kicked the helmet. But I think it's a little bit more understandable when you understand what he went through for the entire week. Who plays at the end of the year? Should we just dump all the seniors and go with youth because we're 4-4 at midseason? Absolutely not. You play the guys that give you the best chance to win. You play the guys that deserve to win. You're not going to bench guys that are playing great. Now, if a guy's not playing well, you bench him and you move on. But you sure don't do that with guys who are helping you win and getting themselves in a position. A lot of guys are playing great. Some of these guys have helped us win a lot of ball games around here, and we're not going to allow the losses that we've had to jerk them out of the game when they're playing well. So we will not do that, and they know that. Recruiting, most of the commitments were for this weekend. They're doing fine. We get emails sometimes asking are the recruits all going to jump ship. Shoot, they usually like the fact they'll have a better chance to play if you're not winning all the games. So nobody's wavering, and everybody's doing great, and recruiting still hanging in there. Bill Snyder is one of the great coaches of all time. He's a great friend of mine. He and I guess we're kind of the old guys in the now the granddads in the Big 12. We always sit with each other at the meetings because we think alike. But he is a tremendous football coach. He is what Coach Roll is to us. He's a living legend. When you drive into their stadium, you pull in on Bill Snyder Boulevard. You get out and you walk into Bill Snyder Family Stadium, and that's pretty cool. So I've told him not many guys that are still living have a stadium named after him. And he's done a tremendous job. He's one of the best coaches in the country. They're always well coached. They're tough. They take care of the ball. They're good in the kicking game. They're physical on defense. It'll be like a brawl. They're a power running team. They take about 6-inch splits. They've got what might be one of the best, if not the best, running back in the country. We'll see two great ones here the next 2 weeks. In Daniel Thomas, he's 6'2", he's 228. He is a guy that has already gained 996 yards, and he'll touch the ball 38, 40 times during this ball game. This isn't going to be a fool 'em game. They'll run it at you and run it at you and run it at you, and then they'll fake it to him and have a double move outside by a wide receiver in man coverage and throw it deep. And they do a tremendous job of that. Also, a top pro prospect is Kenneth Mayfield. He's 6'4", 350. He's a senior, number 67. He's their right guard. They're 25th in the nation in rushing. They're averaging 193 yards per game. Defensively, they're a four-man front. They're not a big blitz team. They blitz only about 26% of the time. But they've got a lot of good players over there running around knocking people out. We do have comparisons. They beat UCLA, and they lost to Baylor about by the same score that we did, 7 points or something. So it should be a great ball game, and I want everybody to know our coaches are working as hard as they can, hard as they ever have. They're disappointed, but they are working their tails off to try to get better and win a football game. And I thought we made tremendous progress last week after the way we stunk against Iowa State with our players. We still making too many mistakes. There's still a fine line. The stats I gave you that matter to start the press conference were the ones with turnover ratio, and we have got to start forcing turnovers with our defense. We say it every week, but it's hard to do. You can't just wave a wand. You got to knock them loose and then put pressure on the quarterback and get some tip balls. And we're getting balls that are tipped and they catch them, but we're not having any that are tipped that we get to catch. And there were 5 balls on the ground Saturday night that we didn't get for Baylor. So we knocked the balls loose, but we got to get on them. Same thing happened at Nebraska. So we just got to keep working and keep fighting and try to get it all together in the last 4 weeks here.